What's going on, guys? Stony Rob here, back for another YouTube video. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, because mine is going amazing like every other day. So before we get started with the third episode of Stoner Tips, leave me suggestions for future videos in the comments down below. What stoner tips you guys want to see or hear talk about, Also, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. It really helps me out, because that way I can beat the YouTube algorithm, because Susan Wojcicki, whoever the fuck the CEO of YouTube, doesn't like us weedtubers that much. So by dropping the like, it really helps me out, because they won't really show my videos in the suggestion, because it's related to weed, Now that I got that out of the way, in today's episode, we're going to discuss the different forms of cannabis and differentiating the different effects each one of them have. I'm going to start off with the most common one, and that's bud. Bud is the dried flower of the cannabis plant. Often people smoke this form of cannabis in joints, blunts, bongs, pipes, and even sometimes fruits. Bud is often the most common form that people start off with because you have a wide sense of variety of different strains. And I'm not saying there isn't a wide variety of strains in like wax, hash, or even edibles, but bud is like the initial form before it even becomes hash, wax, or edibles. When cannabis is in bud form, the high is generally less intense than wax or edibles. Oftentimes, it doesn't take much to get faded, and you can easily control the quantity of bud you want to smoke. I personally think that any beginner should start with this because you have less chances of getting scammed. Not saying you won't, but you're more likely to get scammed with the others because, I don't know, the size, and you might not know like how to eyeball the weed, and like the edibles, you might get less inside the edibles, you might get shitty wax, you might get less hash than you're supposed to get, and you won't be able to tell the difference, right? Now moving on to the next form, hash or hashish, which by the way just means weed in Arabic, and that's just another common form of cannabis. This form is very popular outside of North America. For some reason, the only place in North America that really fucks with hash as their main way of smoking, I think, is the province of Quebec. You know that French province in Canada that always wants its independence? Well, they are, in my experience, the only ones in Canada pretty much, and I even think in the United States that really love to smoke hash as their main way of smoking it. Regardless, I have smoked my fair share of hash, and I'd say it's always a pretty smooth high. Like, the high never elevates. I feel as if, even if you smoke a lot of hash, you just stop getting higher after a certain point. Like, I don't know. Hash has never done the trick for me and even my friends. Not saying hash is not good, but I don't know. Sometimes, like, the way they handle it, the way they make it, is just not as good as maybe just smoking straight up bud, right? And that's one of the reasons why I don't buy it. You can pretty much get scammed out of it. Maybe there's not just hash inside of it, because you don't know who handled that shit, There's many ways to smoke hash. The most common one is to get some tobacco from a cigarette or just buy a pouch of it and break down the hash. Mix it in with the tobacco and roll a spliff. It's actually a pretty good vibe, to be honest. And yeah, it's pretty chill, a chill way to smoke it. I just don't recommend the tobacco, but I'm a blunt smoker, so who am I to judge, right? Another way in this trick I learned from my French Canadian brothers is, first of all, you need a water bottle, a lighter, and a cigarette. What you do is take a water bottle. At the bottom of the bottle, like on the side, not like under it completely, like on the side of the bottle, you burn a hole through about the size of a Bic lighter. Make sure you take off the bottle cap, obviously, so there's no like plastic smoke that gets stuck inside of the bottle. When that's done, all you do is make little small balls with the hash and pick it up with a lit cigarette. The ball is gonna start smoking, and when that happens, stick the cigarette inside the bottle with the cap on. Wait till the ball becomes red and just puff, and take out the cigarette so you don't inhale too much cigarette smoke, and just rinse and repeat until you're high. People call this technique pooks where I live, but like pook means a homeless crackhead or whatever, so I don't know why they call it that, but whatever. Lastly, you could simply smoke it in the bong or pipe, but honestly, just stick with the breaking down the cigarette, rolling the spliff with it. It's just better, because I don't know, smoking inside of a bowl or pipe sometimes like doesn't burn the whole thing, and it's a little harsher, Next up, we got that good old wax. I have an enormous love-hate relationship with wax. Wax is one of the reasons I failed my first semester of college. Wax is a cannabis concentrate that is used both for recreational and medical uses. Wax ranges from 30% THC to 90% THC. So trust me when I say this shit gets you super duper lazy. The most obvious reason why you would smoke wax is because it has a higher THC concentration value than any other form on this list. I think it's even more potent than edibles, to be honest. The problem with wax is that if you buy it from a shady dealer or just buy it from a whack-ass company, there might be elevated levels of butane. For those who don't know, butane is straight up gas. Like it's bad for you. It's not good for your lungs. It's not good to inhale, and you could die from it, but you're not going to directly die from smoking wax that has too much butane, but like butane is bad. So you get the drift of it. It's not that good, you know? There's a few ways you can smoke wax. First, you could do dabs. Dabbing involves the use of a piece of equipment called a dab rig. And when I'm talking about dabbing, I'm not talking about that Fortnite moves or the Migos. I'm talking about, that good old dab that hits you so good and then you're just stoned to the bone. To use a dab rig, you need a dab nail that's going to fit inside the pipe or the bong's gauge. In addition, you'll need a dome, which is like the glass hood you place on top of the nail or around the nail, whatever, to trap the vapor before it's inhaled. Finally, you just need a mini blowtorch, and once you got everything, all you need to do is light the part where you put the wax, and don't like burn it too hot, like red hot, because it might like burn your lungs and the hit might be harsh. And so put enough wax on top of the nail, on the nail, and burn it just enough so that the wax melts. Place the nail containing the wax in the same part where it's hot, and place the dome and puff it all, man. Just puff all the smoke. Pretty simple, am I right? Nah, it's pretty complicated, and I don't know. That's one of the reasons I don't like using a dab rig, but it's very popular, so whatever. Then there's vaping, and that's the easiest and less time consuming method. What I had personally was like a vape pen that had 4 coils. I used to put wax inside of each coil, close that thing up, and just puff. There's other ways too. You can buy refillable vape pens or buy like puff and goes that just has like 100 puffs in it and you throw it away. Honestly, it's the most simple, it's very discreet, you can do it pretty much anywhere, and it leaves next to no smell. So if you're trying to stay low key, this is a very good option for you. There's obviously sprinkling a blunt or a joint with wax, but in my opinion, that's pretty much a waste. You could also use a cigarette and the bottle method I listed above when talking about hash. I've seen a lot of people do that actually, but like sprinkling a blunt or joint with wax is just straight up a waste. You're not gonna hit everything that's gonna melt on top of it, so just don't do it. Stick to like a vape pen or even a dab rig. Finally, we have edibles. Ho ho ho, edibles. For some reason, edibles only seem to work when you start talking shit about them, and then they smack you right upside the head, Randy Orton RKO to the face. Edibles is the only form of cannabis that requires both a long preparation and a long wait before they kick in. Edibles have their advantages, like you could take them at school and you wouldn't smell like anything. Plus, when they kick, your high is intense. You're higher than a motherfucker, to be honest. Edibles take about 1 to 2 hours to kick in. Depending on your size and tolerance, it would be best to stick to 15 milligrams of THC inside the edible. That's just in case, so you just don't get too high and puke and everything after that. There's actually a few ways to make edibles, but I'll only list the most common one, and that's making butter then baking it with something else, right? When you think edibles, you generally think brownies or gummies, but you can actually make drinks, dishes, and even soaps and that sort of shit and get high off of it. What you do is you take weed, you mix it up with oil, you cook it, you generally make Nutella out of it. That's what most people do, or they mix it in with Nutella because it has some sort of oil in it and you extract it. I personally never made edibles because I don't have the patience, or I don't know, I just don't like making it. I'll just straight up buy it off of somebody. There's actually a lot of tutorials online that teach you how to do it, so go check that out. Just write how to make edibles. It's that simple. A few years back, I've actually tried a burger that was covered in THC butter. I don't know how much milligrams was in there, but I got super duper, intensely high after an hour and a half, right? Well, now that I gave you guys the rundown on all 4 forms of cannabis, which one do you guys prefer? Bud, hash, wax, or edibles? Personally, it would be bud, but that's just because I love the smoke aspect of it, the smoke that comes out. So leave your answers in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And you know what? This is Stony Rob. You know the drill. I'm out.